I'm happy to be here. And one of the biggest reason is you guys are the future of branding and marketing and advertising and everything to do with corporate world. And so I'll tell you a couple of things before we start about it. I want to start first telling that before I get into the topic, I want to tell you why we choose the topic and what happened that it changed my life to do what I'm doing. Quick one, that's me, that's my mom, that's my dad. Okay, not now, it is obviously 40 years back. The story goes like this. My dad is a government doctor, my mom is an artist. So during summer holidays, I used to spend a lot of time in government hospitals. Because 2 months holiday you have, so what you do? You can't go to Nani's house every day. So you go to government hospital and sit in government hospital. So during sitting in government hospital, I have gone through seen life, death, hope, sadness, and happiness in 100 square meter of the entire hospital. At the same time, when I went to meet my mom and to spend time with my mom during winter holidays, because winter mein ek hi mahina hota tha, so I used to paint and everything with my mom. She was an artist, and I've seen the joy an artist can give to people. The happiness a painting that can go to people. And that is where that started and everything. When I grew up, I said, what I need to do? I was in part of advertising. Of course, I was doing big advertising, like you said, Amazon and all the big brands and everything. It's just I was missing something. And that missing was, how can I create or use the power of creativity to impact the hope and faith in people that my dad did it. So combine the two and started with something very interesting called Impact a Billion. It's nothing to do with advertising. It's very new way of seeing advertising. Very, very new way of seeing advertising. Or let me tell you, very, very new way of seeing branding, a consumer world. Today I will tell you two different work that has changed the world in a very different way. One automobile world and one sanitary pad world. I will start with the first story. Giving every Indian a chance to own a piece of national treasure. This story starts in 1980 when my dad was posted in Paradip Port, government doctor, and INS Vikrant decided to land in Paradip Port. And my dad had a Chetak, Bajaj Chetak. A lot of you don't know, it's a Chetak, it's a scooter. And my dad, my mom, and me between. So tripling was always okay before. It was legal. And we went in the bike and we saw INS Vikrant in the middle of the ocean. The pride was, you are looking at the gigantic ship of India that has fought the 1971 war, that defended India in 1965. And you looked at it, when you're small, when you see people looking at it and you feel proud about it. Oh my God, and think of it, when you're small, things look big. And it was looking like a gigantic, I don't know, you can say monster or some metal thing, and that was a piece of art that has saved the nation, and you are like awed about it. Then comes 2014. Government decided to decommission INS Vikrant and send it for scrapping. When you heard that, people who has lived INS Vikrant as the hero, that was a pain for us. And we had an idea. We went to Bajaj on your neighborhood, and we says, why don't you buy the entire ship of INS Vikrant, melt it, and make bikes out of it? Now, I will talk you two things about it. Let me tell you what Bajaj was to India before. There was a campaign in 80s called Hamara Bajaj. That was the campaign that made Indians feel Bajaj being part of a national bike. Second, automobile industry. The fun about automobile industry is, mainly bike industry, people buy bikes for three things. Design, CC, और माइलेज क्या है. There is nothing fourth thing about it. And in the last 5 years, there were 32 new bikes has been launched and failed in the entire automobile industry. So the pressure was massive on us to tell Bajaj to buy an entire warship, melt it, and make bikes out of it. But Bajaj being Bajaj, they bought the ship, they melted the ship, and they made bikes out of it. On the street, if you see a Bajaj V, that was made out of it. People were paying 65,000 not for a bike. They were buying a piece of history, a piece of national pride. And that was the bigger thing. They never looked into what is the price, what is the CC, what is the design, what is the color, what is the mileage. Everything was wiped out when they were owning something much bigger than that. 26 Jan, when the idea was launched, there was nothing. We had a silhouette of a bike and A.R. Rahman's music, Bande Mataram, was there. The day of the launch, within the first 1 hour, 11,000 bikes were booked. Never ever happened in the history of automobile industry. It was because you changed the way marketing happens. We don't force anyone to buy anything. They want to buy because they want to own a part of history. They want to own a story. And the best thing happened when you went to consumer and asked why you bought it. You feel proud about when you're selling bike, then you go and ask people why you buy this bike. I remember this story of this gentleman in Nagpur. He says, I bought it for my son and daughter. I says, fantastic. I felt lovely. I says, आपका बेटे का नाम क्या है? बेटी का नाम क्या है? बोला, सर शादी नहीं हुआ अभी तक. I said, what? बोला, अभी तक शादी नहीं हुआ सर. जिस दिन हो जाएगा फिर बच्चा होगा सर. I said, why you bought it? I says, I want to live it for my next generation. I may not have children today, but the day they will have it, this bike will pass to them as a part of history. And that's the power of the brand that you can do. It is not advertising, it's not storytelling. You give them something that is true. Now let's go to the second story. This is the one thing we're talking about. By the way, if you see any bike, go and see. On the top of that petrol tank, you will see this symbol. Made with the invincible metal of INS Vikrant. It's powerful. Second battle that we handed was battle to keep 23 million girls back in school. Now, this happened exactly 10 years back. It started. 10 years back, social media will shut down anything to do with period taboo. Anything to do with periods. Girls bleeding, block the image. Except TVCs, no one talked about it. And obviously, what are the taboos are? During period, you can't go to temple, you can't get into bed, sleep on the floor, not on the bed, can't get into a kitchen, can't touch pickle, can't do this, can't do that. We went on and says, you know what? Let's break the taboo. And we first brand PNG Whisper and we created this. Touch the pickle. It changed the conversation about period taboo. Everything that you saw after that, people were writing on the pad and putting it on the colleges, campuses. Every madness started happening. Social media started changing their laws and everything. It happened because of this campaign. Touch the pickle. We were all happy. As advertising people, if you change something, you say your life is done. You are happy, you are happy. You are like, campaign, this is my campaign, proud about it. Guess what? 2018, we found a shocking discovery. A data that changed everything for us. 23 million girls every year drop out of school because of period taboo. That's almost a population of Australia is dropping out of India every year because they don't know what period taboo is, what period is. Now we deep dive into that. You know what we realize? Society don't talk about it. Mothers don't talk about it. And the same reason the education book never printed it. Now you're talking to these little girls, which average age is going down to 7 now, 8 now. They are reading about a tadpole, a frog's anatomy, a dog's anatomy, a cat's anatomy, a fish anatomy, and they don't know about their own body. Shocking, right? So that is when the rally started. We partnered with UNESCO. We partnered with the biggest media houses. We partnered with governments. And says, how can we get the chapter back into the classrooms? Of course, PNG have one of the biggest program into going the POME, to going telling about period and everything. Biggest. But it's just 50,000. You know how many schools are there? 1.5 million. So the battle has to be more than just going to school and telling about it, to change the entire curriculum for that. And we did it. It was 4 years of fight. 4 years of working on massive media budget. And one dream that one day we will have those 23 million girls not drop out. PNG's that one dream. We made that change happen. First was every possible award show for marketing, advertising. We got the Grand Prix in Cannes for sustainability. We won London International Festival, one show, DNAD, Clio, Spikes, winning the Grand Prix in FEs, winning the #1 campaign of India. The numbers were out of the chart, like everything. Life's changed for everyone. I was talking in United Nations in US, talking about the chapter and the power of it. The chapter was released by different books, was created, one for mothers, one for teachers, one for disabled kids, one for transgender, one for the sports people, how to deal with it, because it was a big subject that we start breaking down into it. But you know what the powerful thing was? The campaign happened in 2022. The end. 2023, 1 million less girls dropped out. And that's the starting point of a big movement. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. And sometimes when you, as a leaders of the industry, you will start changing things. You don't know how the snowball effect will happen. So let me tell you a small number. Even if we manage to get 10% of those girls back into workforce, you know what will happen? The country will get $100 billion in GDP in just 10 years. So this was not a battle about female hygiene. This was a battle about equality. This was a battle about education. And this was a battle about economical growth of the nation. Because they are not little girls. They are the part of the workforce of this country, future of this country. If you can get them back into the nation's growth, we will have $100 billion back to our nation. And you don't know who the next leaders are going to come from, though the little girls are. So when, after you leave from here, you will get your jobs, you have your placements, you will be asked 2 questions always. Do good for the brand. Let's do for the corporate world. Of course you have to do good for the brand. But you have to have one filter for that. What is good for people is good for brands. It is never the other way around. The biggest brands that we have changed is to having one thing. Think people first. What is good for people is good for brand. And you have the power. Ask for forgiveness, don't for permission. Don't go for permission. Do that what's good for people, and you will see that it will be good for brands. And that is how we can do one thing. impact billion people's life. Thank you.